Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, where we talk all things manga, and I'm excited to share with you my top 20 manga of all time for 2023. In this video, we're going to go over my top 20 through 11 titles that I just think are some of the best manga I've read, that I've experienced, that has just touched my heart. And then we're going to have a part 2 video coming out later in the week that you'll see that'll have my top 10 manga of all time. And you're going to want to stick to the end of the videos. I'm going to share with you 2 bonus manga that I wanted to make this list, but I felt I had just to hold back a little bit. So if you stick to the end, I promise hopefully it will be worth it. In the comments below, I'd love to know from you, what are some of your top favorite manga of all time? As a community together, it's so neat to see there's such a variety and diversity of differences and tastes, and there's just so much good manga there. This video was so hard to make, as I was tempted to do a top 30, a 40, or even a 50, but I thought for this year, let's go. Last year we did a top 10, let's just do a top 20, then next year maybe we'll do a top 30 and so on. So with that said, you might be wondering, Scott, how did you decide this manga? Well, I went with a clean slate. I did not watch my previous top 10 video from 2022. I decided to start fresh to look at just the manga I had. I just started writing everything down on a list, and it was very hard to narrow it down. Now you might be wondering, Scott, how did you pick these titles? Well, I'll give you just a little bit background about myself. Number one is I'm looking for just a good story. I will take a good story over good artwork anytime. The artwork can be terrible, but if the story is great, if the story pulls you in, I'm on for the journey. So that's the first major thing I'm looking for, is just a good story. It doesn't matter to me if it's about cooking, if it's an action adventure, if it's just good storytelling. I want to be surprised and read things I've never thought about before. 2 thing I'm looking for in a manga is, does it inspire you? There have been so many great titles that you'll see on this list that just all of a sudden made me interested in a subject that I knew nothing about, as well as just made me want to be a better person, or it just caused me to just deeply think and thought. And that's just something that's so important. And third, is it fun? Am I having fun? Is it just something that I am enjoying reading? It could be a good story, but still not be fun. So those are the things that I'm looking for when it comes to manga. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Coming in at number 20 is Higurashi When They Cry. Now this is a very suspense thriller story, and I did a review earlier on this year about it. And the one thing I will say, hope just to get you just a little interested, if not already, is the first 2 volumes alone would be a top 10 series. If they just ended on the 2 volumes, you're just so hooked in that you're just like, wow, I gotta keep reading. And I assure you, the journey is worth it. Now, this manga series does ask a lot from you, as you have essentially 26 volumes, and man, I mean, some of these volumes are just really thick. But it was just such an intriguing story. I enjoyed it through all the ends. As you're trying to unravel this mystery, try to figure out what's going on with this town, how are all these murders continue to happen, and then when you unpuzzle the mystery, it helped you feel intelligent. I appreciate the story just unraveling it and talking to me in a way where it's like, oh yeah, I did notice that. Oh yeah, that did happen. And wait a minute, we can put those connections together, and then you're just like, it all makes sense. So just a phenomenal story I've enjoyed. That's number 20, Higurashi When They Cry. Coming in at number 19 is A Silent Voice. Now I also did a review for this series earlier this year. In fact, the more I think about it, a lot of these series you're going to see, yes, I've done reviews for. Now, there's only 7 volumes in this story. It's complete, but man, it moved my heart. I cried during parts of it, and it's just such a good storytelling as you're seeing the after effects of what happens through your consequences, as you're following this main character here who ends up bullying this girl who's deaf. Now, there is a Silent Voice movie, which is good, but I prefer the manga any day of the week over the movie, as well as this just has some of the best artwork and panels I've ever seen. So not only do you have a phenomenal story, not only does it cause you to think more deeply about your own consequences through life, and then acceptance, but you're also looking at a beautiful masterpiece with each panel along the way. So that's my number 19, A Silent Voice. Coming in at number 18 is Monster. Now this is from one of my favorite authors of all time, Mr. Asara, and this is a phenomenal work. In fact, it is a masterpiece that I rated a 10. Now, whoa, I know the few of you that watched the review of this video might be thinking, Scott, why did you say it's a masterpiece? Shouldn't it be in the top 10? If this is a 10, is everything else a 10? Well, no, not necessarily. Something can be a masterpiece. Something can have phenomenal dialogue, artwork, and storytelling, yet there are stories that I would just pull and just gravitate towards more than this. Yes, it's a masterpiece. Yes, it was a phenomenal story as you're following the surgeon as he's in this mystery, as he's this person whose life he saved. You end up finding out may not be the best person, and is such great intrigue as you're following different character perspectives. Every character has value and meaning, and every word in the dialogue is just so strong and just keeps you hooked in for the entire journey. Many people, this is in their top 5 of all time. Some people it's even their number 1, but there are other works that he had that I just thought were so much better, and for some reason the story pulled me in more. So yes, it's a masterpiece. Yes, it's a 10, but for me, it's ranked number 18. Coming in at number 17 is a manga series I know was in my top 10 last year because I just got a lot of flack because I put this in my top 10. A lot of people just didn't think it was top 10 worthy. Now, I got started with the anime and I absolutely fell in love with the series, and it's actually the first manga series I ever picked up, so it might be a bit of a nostalgia factor. Yes, there are some volumes that I didn't think was good, but this series is My Hero Academia. It's still a good series. I'm sucked in with the new volumes that come in. I get excited when I get a new volume. I immediately read it right away. It's a good story as you're following Midori here, who has this dream of being a superhero but is born without any superpowers, and you follow him on his journey as he gains this ability, and now he's going through, there's just the high school antics, the pain of loss, and man, they have done such a phenomenal job when it comes to superheroes. I wish America, Marvel, and DC would learn a thing or two from My Hero Academia, that just little different elements that they could apply to make storytelling over here so much better. It's so good, so phenomenal. I still enjoy this series. Yes, it's not in my top 10 as I found other series, and maybe my tastes have changed a little bit, but I still really enjoy this series, and that's My Hero Academia. Coming in at number 16 is a series that, man, it just moved me so much when I first read it, and that is Orange. Now, Orange was complete, and then they've added a couple more volumes. Now they say the series is completely done. I hope that's so. It didn't exactly end the way I was hoping for one of the characters. Maybe the girl doesn't end up with the character that I thought she should, but you know, that's okay. It was just such a good series as you're following this group of high schoolers as they're helping out this new student whose life is not going well, and they just pull him into their group and just help him become one of them. And it was just such a beautiful story, and it made you just immediately want to be friends with these characters. It reminded me of Persona 4 and Persona 5, where you just fell in love with the cast of characters and you just wanted to see the story continue. This is one of the stories where the characters were just so strong in Orange that I just wanted to be friends with them. I wanted to find out their journey after high school. I want to follow them through college. I want to follow them through their adult years. If they have kids, I would just love to continue to see them get together. So because of that, not only was it a heartwarming story, it pulled on my heartstrings a bit. Because of the characters, I absolutely fell in love with Orange. Coming in at number 15 is a slice of life series that came out last year physically from 7 Seas, and that is Yokohama Kadashi. Now this series has just helped me feel all just warm and fuzzy inside. It's just a very good cozy manga. That type of manga you just want to snuggle up with a good blanket, maybe with a hot cup of coffee or tea, and just read and just allow yourself to relax. This story, you follow this robot here who owns this coffee shop, and I love coffee, so that was great. But you just realize, even though it's a lot slower, just the idea of just enjoying the little things in life, whether that's just the breeze of the wind, whether that's having just your toes in the sand, just the feelings of everyday life, even if it moves a little slow, seeing the enjoyment on the journey. So many times we may feel that our life is boring, or we don't have a whole lot going on, and we see other people out there just doing all these amazing things, going on all these trips. But most people's lives, if you really look at it, maybe it is kind of boring. But this shows that, you know what, even the things that look boring, you can find some hidden gems in it. You can find some meaning, you can find value in your friendships around you. And it's just, again, so good. Just that deep thinking, that coziness to it. This has just been such a great story that I've just enjoyed the journey, and I'm so grateful that Seven Seas brought out physically. Coming in at number 14 is a manga series that just inspired me to continue chasing my dreams. It encouraged me into the world of art, which I knew very little about, and that is Blue Period. Now, this story, you're following this up and coming artist, Gucci here, and he actually doesn't know much about art, but all of a sudden he has to do this artwork project, and there's something in him that just comes out, the creativeness to it. And you follow him and you learn just how difficult it is to make it into the art world. And you follow him as he tries to get into this university, and then so on through his life. But I learned a lot about art, which I thought was really neat. It made me care about a subject I didn't know much about. This story encouraged me to chase my dreams, to have goals in life. And it's just so heart-moving and touching. Yes, it is a little wordy, but it is a great story you need to check out. If you're curious about something that's not in your typical genre, this is a great start. Coming in at number 13 is a series that I almost made my top 10 last year, but there wasn't as many volumes, and I thought maybe I should go ahead and wait, and that is Solo Leveling. Now, this is a Korean-based comic. It's all in color, which is very nice, but you're following this main character who is extremely weak. He's the worst of his hunter class. And then from this tragic situation, he ends up getting this special ability, and all of a sudden it has completely changed his life. Now, what I love about the series, it has a lot of those RPG elements where now in the real world, if he doesn't do 100 push-ups, if he doesn't run a certain amount of miles, bad things will happen. It almost reminded me, what would our lives be like if I was forced all of a sudden to exercise and all of a sudden eat healthy? How much easier my life would be is actually if I had a stat and I actually gained a reward for doing that. But that aside, there's many twists and turns. There's many oh snap moments in this. There's things that happen with the main character that I didn't see coming, and just how he becomes. It just, wow. He is just one. He goes from a zero to just, I don't want to say a hero, but like that anti-hero. You're just blown away. A good series that I highly recommend. Now, the first 7 volumes are out, and it ends on a good note. I believe when the anime comes out, I think it's going to be January in 2024. When the anime comes out, my guess this series is going to skyrocket. So if you want to get ahead of the anime, I'd recommend checking it out now. Now, coming in at number 12 is a manga series that ended up doing a completely different approach to storytelling, and just this idea of what if, instead of having to go and fight out the Demon King has now been destroyed, and what happens after the journey? What happens after your party reaches the end? Is many stories you see them getting to that destination, but you don't really get to see what happens to that destination afterwards, or it's just deemed as boring and the story ends. And they all live happily ever after. But this story is Furin Beyond Journey's End, as you're following this main character with her group of heroes that they made it. Now, this story, as you follow Furin, she's an elf, and she can actually, because she's an elf, they kind of essentially live forever, and the humans and people around her, it's 50 years later. Now, for her, 50 years later is just kind of a blink of an eye, but for the people she's on this journey, that has been a lifetime. Now the world is changing a bit. People are kind of forgetting about what they did 50 years ago as just new generations come up. the heroes in our party are just dying of old age. So you're seeing her now reflect on the life that she just kind of missed, the life she took for granted. And now she's on a journey to kind of walk in the footsteps of the journey she did 50 years ago, but with some different people. It's very heart moving. It's gotten me emotional, and it's such unique storytelling. It gives you just the importance of how precious memories are. So I'm loving the series more and more, and it could easily, I could see maybe next year in my top 10, but for now it's at the spot it is. Highly recommend. I feel like there's so many videos I'm talking about this series, but you've got to check it if not, or at least watch the anime Beyond Journey's End. Now coming in at number 11 is a series I believe it was in my top 10 last year. It just is a little bit moved up a bit, and that's just because there's some other series that just really captured my heart a little more. But that is Blood on the Tracks. Now this series is, wow, when it comes to the dialogue moments that are in the series, it just hits you. As you're following this main character who has this very manipulative mother, and she's just not all quite there, just some mental illness, and just the impact she has on her son is just so drastic. It's one of those series you can probably read each volume within 20 minutes. It's mostly doesn't have as much dialogue, but you're so captivated. You want to know what is going to happen next. I kind of want to tell you more, but I'm trying not to spoil it. But you see his mom do something just absolutely terrible, and now he's struggling with, does he tell somebody what his mom has done? Does he not say anything? How does he respond as you're seeing his mom just being so manipulative? And I just thought the author did such a good job. Unfortunately, I've had the effects of someone who's very manipulative to me, and there's sometimes I've read the series, I've just started cringing because some of the exact words in the dialogue I've heard from other people before, and it made me put it down. But the story has been so good. I think the 15th volume just came out. I've only had the first 14 volumes. I think there's 18 total, but it may change on my list based on how it ends, but as of right now, Blood on the Tracks is one of those. A friend told me, man, that's a real deep cut. And I was like, a deep cut? He's like, yeah, not a lot of people know about that series. But I was like, really? So I don't know if you've heard it before, but man, Blood on the Tracks, it hit me in a different way. It's definitely for a more mature audience, but it's one I'm going to recommend if you haven't to check out. And if you stuck it to the end of the video, I have two bonus series to share with you that I really wanted to put on my list, but because there's only 5 volumes and the 5th volume just came out, I just read it earlier today and I just loved it so much that I was like, oh, I really want to put it in my top 20. But because there's only 5 volumes, I'm going to wait, and that is Why Relena Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion. I have so in love with this series. It made my #1 last year of new series to come out. I'm still in love with this series. It is so good. It's a Korean manga. It's all in color. It's beautiful, and she's just such a fun character. As you're following this girl who ends up now living in this novel that she read, and she knows the details of the future of the novel. And she ends up realizing the character in this novel that she now ends up being killed. So now she's changing fate so that she's not killed, and now it's affecting everything else around her. And you're like, how is she gonna get out of this? I love her attitude, her bit of spunk, and just the silliness, and doesn't take other people's bullcrap. It's so good. You can't help but smile as you follow Relena on her journey. So it makes me feel so good. It's entertaining. I'm trying not to blush how much I love this series, but because there's only 5 volumes out, I might be biased because I read the 5th volume today. I'm gonna hold off on this, but this is a series I felt deserved to be in the top 20, but because of that, I decided to wait. Now, the second bonus I'm gonna tell you is a series that'll probably be very, very controversial, but I'm only following it physically, and physically, I've just loved this series. I know the series has ended, and there's so many people that said this was my top 10 series, and then after the ending, I hated the series. I wanted nothing to do with it. Don't even talk to me about it. I hope that's not the case. I hope I can enjoy the journey enough that I will enjoy it. If you know what I'm talking about, it is Tokyo Revengers. Tokyo Revengers has been such a great read. like Solo Leveling, it's one of those series, as soon as I get it, I pick it up and I cannot put it down. I'm just so shocked. I cannot wait to read the next volume when it comes out. Now, because I'm reading it physically, I am waiting and I don't want to pay digitally for it. And again, I might discover that it is so terrible, the ending, that the series is dead to me. I want to get rid of it like so many other people. I hope that's not the case. I hope I can enjoy the journey and see for what it is. And even if it's an okay ending, if the rest of the story, I hope I still enjoy it. So because of that, there's a little asterisk on this. That is the other bonus one that, because of what people have said, I don't know anything myself. Thank you so much for not spoiling. We'll find out hopefully within another year or so whether or not this deserves to be on the list. Now that's my top 20 manga, number 20 through 11, along with 2 bonus manga for you. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you'd like to see more content like this, you're not done so already, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That helps others know about this community that we have built together. Thank you so much for having us hit over past 1,000 subscribers. I cannot wait to see you on the next video as we talk about my top 10 through 1, and I'd love to know what are some of your favorite series.